So I was checking out this guy on YouTube. His name's Devin Niamela, I think it is.
Hmm.
He's got this really, really cool NSX build he's doing. He bought it. Um, it's automatic, right? But he had plans to redo the whole car, so obviously he's going to convert it to stick.
Right.
He wanted to do a turbo K swap on it, and he started working on it. He got that mocked up. Um, he pulled all the rear subframe, all the suspension, everything came out to redo everything, like fresh hardware, the whole nine. The thing is, when he got to the front of the car, he started pulling like the fenders off and stuff, and he realized there was a lot of damage.
Right.
The problem wasn't the damage so much as the repair was terrible.
That
It was
sucks.
awful. And I mean, the deeper he got into the repair, he's just like, this is, I mean, it's terrible. He ended up having to
S-
basically purchase the whole side of an NSX from
Well,
like
that was going to
roof
be my
line, you know what
question.
I mean? The whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was going to be my question because like you're only left with two options. Either one, you're going to be a really good body guy and you're going to sit there and try to fix sheet metal, which oftentimes is never going to go your way. Um,
Right.
Especially when you get down to like core structure stuff. I think it's a pain in the
Yeah.
ass because you can't make it look like it wasn't repaired. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
Or you're going to buy a cutoff, but like getting a clip, man, that's got to be
Well, the
something.
thing is too, you notice like as you started to dig into it, the washers and stuff used to like get the gaps somewhat better than they, than probably was before. And then getting into the structure, like I mean, it was just torn up. So he basically was starting over, and it's like you get to a point where do you just start over with a whole new chassis, like a whole new car? Because he was kind of at that point, and I think he was sort of deciding, left or right here. He ended up sticking it out. It's coming along great now. I really like what he does because he's so thorough. But man, it's a tough decision. It's a lot of money.
That's a big dollar. That's a big dollar
Yeah,
project, right?
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and
yeah.
so I don't know. I mean, it's hard too because like if this was maybe an average run of the mill car, mm, maybe not. But
Right.
with it being, an NSX, it does complicate things. I mean, that's
It
interesting.
does.
I'm just Max has some B-roll up, so I'm just watching it. Like he cut away the trunk to be able to put that turbo kit in.
Yeah, that's more recently because they're doing a twin turbo kit on it, or he just did. But the real concern was that front passenger, like that front left corner, it
Right.
was bad. And so, he's buying little pieces, little bits and pieces, which is hard to find anyways for a car
Yep.
that old, right? He's bringing stuff in from overseas. He had to wait forever for it to arrive. Excuse me. It gets to customs. It's stuck there. Like the whole thing, like everything that can go wrong, basically went wrong.
Yeah.
But he's sticking it out, and like it's a really really good build. It's very very thorough.
My
I
God.
wouldn't have done twin turbo on it, but he's doing something crazy, so it's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean I think so. Twin. Wait, he's doing twin turbo.
Yeah, on a K,
Well, why?
I don't know if it was 20 or 24. I don't know.
Is it like sequential?
I don't know. He's gonna have like the turbo sticking out the back, like
Yeah.
BC type thing. You know what I mean? It's not my thing, but you're trying to build content. I get it.
Well,
Um,
what I like, I don't know him at all, but I'll tell you right now that just by the look of the B-roll that I'm checking out right now, like I'm going to watch. Like
yeah.
this is right up my alley. The
Yeah,
fabrication, the
some
whole
very,
thing.
very cool stuff. Yeah, he does everything himself. It's really cool to see him like really break it out and tell you what he's doing and how he's doing it. And he doesn't hold back. Like if he runs into a hurdle, all of it's there for you. You know what I
Right.
mean? To
That's
hide these
awesome.
things. So yeah,
That's
it's really
really
cool.
great.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna
I
check out
found
this
him.
channel.
I was actually following his brother, who is also a very hands-on guy. Not so much the import stuff, but and then I guess they kind of crossed over at one point, and I caught onto his channel. So now I follow his channel. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah, it's cool.
it's hard when you pick up like somebody else's project. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Because
yes.
you really have to trust they did the right work. And I look, I think there's always two ways of looking at picking a project car, right? There's the one which is like, all right, somebody already put a lot of their dollars and money
Hmm.
into parts, different things like that. And by buying it, I'm sort of like, because they're not going to get the full value of what they paid for it. Like that's not how modifications really work ever.
Right,
So
right.
so you're almost getting like, hey, I got all this stuff, and it's for basically what the value of the car is worth right now. You know what I mean? But then there's a double edged sword to inheriting that just as much as the advantage that potentially could be there. Because if it's put in incorrectly, if the parts are crap, if the install wasn't good, if the tune wasn't good, if the work and the labor was done shoddily, or I don't think
Yeah,
shoddily is a word, but if it was a word,
it
then
is here. Sure.
it is right. Then I think you could also be inheriting somebody else's nightmare, right?
Right. Right.
Listen. Here's the thing. I really don't enjoy picking up built cars or picking up stuff that's already done, because part of the joy for me is building the car. Part of the joy for me is the project in doing. Now, I don't think I'm nearly as equipped or good as that guy that we just saw, but I like to think, like, I do weld. I have a place to weld. Like I have a lift. I do have plenty of tools, and I like to fabricate the crap out of things myself, and I can tune, and so I can do a lot of the things to build a really cool car. I don't know if I'm as advanced as what I saw there. That was pretty good stuff,
Yeah.
but part of the joy of me owning a project is doing all that work. And so,
Right.
and I like getting done with it, knowing the satisfaction that I did this, right? And so you lose that with somebody else's project car. But I will tell you, as much as I hate doing that, I recently did pick up a project
I
car.
was gonna say. I was gonna say. Yeah, you're kind of on the
Yeah.
other side. But
So
you knew the person though,
I
right?
did. I did. And I think that that's what made it, like, I don't know if I would have been as comfortable buying a car that was as far developed
Right.
as where. So, like, with that said, so I picked up a 3000 GT VR4, which I always had mixed feelings on. I'm a Mitsubishi guy. Like, I always enjoyed DSMs. I was a big DSM person. I played with Evos for a little bit, but Evos, they were cool, but, like, inherently, I almost felt like I was on the other side. It's funny how that intake manifold can really throw you
Right.
for a loop.
Right. Right.
But when it comes down to the DSM stuff, I really liked it. Now, the 3000 GT VR4 was always one of those nameplate cars that I really liked to look at, and I really liked the idea of. But if you've ever worked on one, you'll know why you may not want that car. And if you've ever tried to build something that you wanted to build to go racing in, to me, the 3000 GT VR4 is not it. It's just heavy. It had a lot of tech that you ultimately, if you were going to build a race car, you delete.
Right.
It's not one of those fun cars to work on every time. Like, even the other day, I wanted to take a look at the wiper bottle, sensor, and I had to take, like, the intake out, the battery out. I was like, this is stupid.
Yeah.
But there is inherently something cool about the car in the sense of it being a time capsule. I can't tell you how much I really have enjoyed the car so far, because it's just like it's like a DSM but better, right? And I enjoyed the DSM stuff, but it's just better. But from a touring standpoint, not from, I don't know that I think it's better from if I'm going to build a drag car again, right?
Right.
But so
But
I get this car,
yeah.
and it's been owned for the past 15 years by a friend of mine, and I don't know if he's the same mechanical level I am, but
Sure.
but brain wise, he's probably more advanced than I'll ever be. Like, knows the tuning stuff real well. Really, could build software. Can do, like, he's that guy. But he's also not afraid to spend money when he builds cars, and
Right.
he likes this idea of doing everything the right way. Now, I know the right way is very subjective, but in this instance, like, I got the car, it's got a fully built motor, right? Like, he had it, he spent the money, he has, forged pistons and rods, and all that
And
stuff.
he had it built by somebody else, like a shop
He had it
or
built, right, exactly.
okay.
Now,
Okay.
the thing
Gotcha.
about him is because he was doing it for himself for the past 15 years. Like, I said, well, hey, what pistons and rods in it? And he's like, oh, I don't remember. You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
man.
but here's the thing: I've known him for so long. I remember when the car was getting built. Like, it's not like I believe everything that's in there is in there. Like, I know for a fact that this guy, when he wanted something for himself, he would get the money for it, right? And the car itself was like that, because when he found this car, it was a single owner car that he drove to Connecticut to go get and bring back, right? He went there because it was a single owner car that had that had, let's say, 100,000 miles on it, like, even, right? Um, Car's original paint, no accident history, like, very, very, for what it is, clean, but 34 years old, right? Like, clean but
Right.
34 years old. So he gets his car built, does a built engine, like, again, does a lot of the things that I would have done. The reason he did the built engine was because those cars it's a 91. The early years came with a 2-bolt main, but the
Oh,
later
okay.
years came with a 4-bolt main, right?
Right. Right.
So he built a later year bottom end to be able to make sure it had the 4-bolt. When
Right.
he changed out the same, it's still a 5-speed transmission in the early years, but the later, the 92 transmission, or I think the 93 transmission, the last year, the 5-speed, was a better, stronger internal than the early one. So he put that transmission in and had somebody open it up, go through it, sort it out, seal it back up. Transfer case, he upgraded to the better transfer case. It's got
Right.
the big bearing on it. And just a lot of those things, when he wanted to put control arms in, placed all the bushings already on the front end, and and did it the best he could with either stock or the best, OE plus type of combination. So he did a lot of things that I would have done. In fact, the funny thing was, when I got the car, because there were so many things, when I would say to him, like, "Hey, did you do this?" And he would say, "I don't know."
Oh
I
gosh.
had put the car in the lift, and I would just have to go through it. And so
Yeah.
there was a couple things that I said, you know what, I really should change this, and this. So I ordered all these parts, and when they came in and I went to go change them, I realized he already did it. Like, so then from that point on, I learned my lesson. I start looking now at everything.
First.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So
With that said, with him doing all that work to it, it's obviously stuff you would have wanted to do anyway.
yes,
I'm assuming it's a good friend, so you got a reasonable deal on
I
it.
think so.
But what if it was a different situation where it wasn't somebody you knew? He had all this, let's say you had the paperwork, like he did
Okay.
all this work to it. You never met the guy before. The car looked clean to you. Are you still willing to fork over more money in this case to get that car? Because I mean, he says he has all the stuff in it, but
I don't know. I don't know. I don't think so. I kind of feel like I would.
it's scary, right?
Yeah, I kind of feel like I would entertain it, maybe go see it. I would have to be overly wowed
Right,
with
right.
evidence and documentation that this thing was legit, like he's saying, or the work was really good, or compression testing, or I don't know, leak down test, something to give me that, yeah, like, this is solid. But you're right. I don't think so. I think at that point, I probably would have just, bit my tongue and kept looking for, a clean shell, knowing that I'm going to have to go through this over the course of X amount of years. Right.
Yeah, the trust factor is major when it comes to, I mean, you got to know, right?
Well, and I think there is something to be said about people that have their hands in things, right?
Hmm.
I don't think it takes long, if anybody's ever worked on a car that has already been worked on, for you to start diving into something. If you know what you're doing, right? If you know what you're doing, you
Yeah.
start diving into something somebody else had their hands in. Pretty quickly whether the person that worked before you is a hack, or if they really
Right,
actually know
right,
what they're doing. Like, it's super apparent to me.
right,
I don't know
right.
that I've ever had a situation where I was like, oh, I wonder if they did this the right way. It's usually like, oh my God, what is going on here? you know?
Yeah, I think if you're an individual that's going into buying someone else's project car with the intention of going all the way down and turn it all the way down, maybe not as much as that. Yeah, maybe not as much as that Devin guy did, but like, I picked up a Civic hatchback from the import tuner crew. It was, it had been sitting forever, but I knew the guys that worked on it because they sat 10 feet away from me, right? So the stuff that they did to the car, it was not what I would have done. But the plan was for me always to change all the suspension, the brakes, the engine, the transmit, everything, right? So really, when I got into it, none of that stuff was staying anyways. There was no worry for me. But if it was something I was going to keep, the way that they had done it, I would have been fine because I know those guys. I knew what they did. They were experienced.
No, well, let
So
me let me ask you a hypothetical. So let's say you decide you want to build another Civic,
mhm.
and now
No, but yes, go ahead.
I understand,
Never,
but
never.
but I want to do it because I think that, like, the same way as, maybe, let's say, I know the DSMs inherently well, I think
Mhm.
you know Civics really well, right?
Pretty well. Yeah.
So with that said, so let's say you're going to build another Civic, and your goal here at this point is to build something that you can drive on a Sunday, but something that you wouldn't want to drive far on a Sunday, right? Like
Okay.
you want to build
Gotcha.
that 650, 700 horsepower all-wheel drive car that does have interior, but isn't going to be the most comfortable car to,
Right.
go cruising
Right.
with. It's louder than maybe you'd want to take your kids in, stuff like that.
Sure.
So you're going to build this car. You know you're going to build this car. And you know that you're either going to buy a shell, strip it completely down, and start this project from scratch. That means you're buying everything.
Right.
But maybe there's some dude that has a car. I don't want to say that has all this documentation, but he's been building it himself. And you go see this car, and you realize that, for the price he's charging for this car, yeah, I get the car, but I'm also getting, an advantage in all these parts that I'm going to buy for the same type of
Right.
thing. Let's say it's sizable. Let's say if you figured out you were going to build this Civic and it would cost you, let's just be generous and say 45 grand. Now,
Oh, yeah. Okay. Right.
but now listen, I think a lot of people can look
Okay.
at this and say 45 grand, there's nothing. Or
Right.
they can look at it and go, who the hell would spend 45 grand to build a Civic?
Right. Right.
Now, the people that say that who the hell would spend 45 grand to build a Civic are never going to build the type of car we're talking about here.
Sure.
And the people that are going to say that also probably have never built or don't have the knowledge to build this type of car,
Right.
right?
Agreed.
The people that have built this car are like, what's he going to build for 45 grand?
Right.
So, all right. So I understand, just for everybody out there, that number is going to have those reactions. But let's say it's going to cost you 45 grand to build this car, and he's going to sell you this Civic for 28. Right? Like, is there some things that go through our head that make this car now more attractive?
I think so. I think you really have to weigh the pros and cons because a lot, I wouldn't say a lot, some of the parts he has, you're not going to want, right? You can sell it, recoup some money, and then spend it on what you do want. So there's that. For me, I think the two main things that I look at and that scare me the most, engine internals and wiring. Those are the two things that are kind of unseen.
That's after the
You can,
chassis,
you,
though, right?
of course, yeah, right.
Chassis is the
What a street
given. We're,
chassis.
we're, we're
It's got,
saying,
yeah, it's got,
right, if
right,
we're not buying a rusted piece of crap. If it's not, the
right.
chassis checks out first, all right.
It's got to be yeah, it's got to be straight, yeah. But those are the two things that worry me the most because you can't see them, right? You can run the engine, you can drive it around, maybe it feels decent, but you don't know. It could be a ticking time bomb. So those are the two things that I worry about the most. With that Civic, like I said, I was going to tear it down anyways. I didn't care. All the wiring came out, the motor came out, whatever. With if you're starting with something a little bit more stock, maybe it's a little bit more on the stock end, you have less to worry about, I think. But you're probably going to be way further away from your goal if from what you're talking about, this $45,000 make believe car. So there's always a trade-off, right? You gotta figure it out. I think for you in your situation, that trust thing is like a really, really important thing because you know this guy, you've known him for a while. So,
Well, I wasn't looking for a 3000 GT VR4. Let me be very clear, right? Like,
right.
that was not on my bucket
To be
list.
clear, you're kind of looking for everything. Let's be honest.
No, I'm
You're always looking for
definitely
something.
looking for everything.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So
All the time.
all the time. But here's the thing. I just have this thing about cars. Like, like I just can't help myself. Like,
Right.
I love them so much that, like, I almost feel like, especially when it gets into vehicles in a certain category, I feel like it's my job to save these cars. I know that
Right,
sounds
right.
stupid, but
Not really. I think a lot of people feel the same way.
I just feel like I watch what some of these people have done, and listen, I've been witness to it. Like, when you get some of these cars, you're coming up, you don't know what they're going to be worth, you don't know how they're going to be, you don't know how a few of them they'll end up being left over when you get to a certain stage in life. And I see these cars, and I do think the 3000 GT VR4 fits right in there. With just the cars that there's not many left of, or there's not many clean examples of, and and then somebody that comes along and takes the time to put the effort and the time and the respect into building something that's true to what the car was, but also has improvements, right? Like the car, listen, the car has a built engine. The car has, upgraded turbos. It's not the biggest turbos. He went with very stock framed, similar type of sizing, but this car will make 450 on pump gas to all wheels, right? And so that's still not a power level to be like laughed at, right? Like it's
it's no
decent,
slouch.
it's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
You know, the car is heavy, like there's no doubt about that, but it drives very well. I mean, he restored and got all the all-wheel drive steering up, all the active aero works. So like, there's a level to this car. I mean, the interior's immaculate,
Right.
mint. Like, you could have said the car has 30,000 miles on it. Look in the interior and believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and when you're talking about a car that's that old, the condition of the interior and even like the exterior little bits and pieces are very important. You can't buy that stuff anymore. So that's crucial, right?
Well, and with me, I'm like, I become extremely anal retentive with these cars. So like, I'm looking for any little piece that I can find used that's in better condition than the piece I have,
Sure. Yeah,
because
yeah,
I
yeah.
know that the longer we go down the road, the worse it's going to be to find this stuff. And that's just proven history. Look,
Right.
I have, you know, I have a 2006 350Z, this twin turbo. It's only got 24,000 miles on it. You know, twin turbo, has all the cool pieces on it. You know, Ings LX kit, carbon square mirrors, the whole thing. Like it's got, you know, it's got all the stuff on it, right? But everything, I made sure everything works. Car has AC. The car, you know, fully runs. The car does make, you know, 480 or 500 horsepower to the rear wheels. It's been on pump gas. It's been detuned just because I don't have a built engine, because I don't plan to build this car to go to whatever. It is, you know, the twin turbo kit is sufficient. Like the car is, you know, I've done all the bushings and mounts and everything I can do, subframe, you know, collar kits and anything I can do to make the car better. And the car is fantastic. It's really great. But even with that car,
Right.
like 2006, things are starting to get old. Things are starting to get hard to get. Like
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
picked up a lot of interior pieces, you know, new that I know are worn or wearing, and I have them in a box in the garage on top of one of my cabinets, and I'm not changing them or anything. But one day, it will come that like, hey, this is too worn, or you know, and I will change it, and it will be rare. And like I just picked.
Or if not, that's money in the bank, right? Like in 10 years time,
Yeah,
nobody can find that stuff.
yeah, I
It
know.
really is. Yeah.
It really is. So, so there's a lot of things like that. You know, I feel like, and the 3000 GT came my way, and wasn't exactly the timing I was looking for, but uh, but um, but it was a cool car, and he had done the same thing, and I felt it was like my duty not to watch it go to somebody that was just going to beat the crap out of it, potentially destroy it, and then it would go off to somebody else at a discount, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, listen, I've spent a lot of time since I got the car. I mean, the car sat for 3 years. The car did not move for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, even at what it was, and it ran and drive. He would, you know, we were able to get the thing fired up and drive it back to my house, and then I proceeded to drop all the oils and all the coolant and get all that stuff in, and you know, put a fresh set of plugs in just to make sure. And once I got that stuff set, you know, I went through the car, just did a nut and bolt check, making sure that things were still together, and then you know, the whole rear end of the car, you know, from mid roof back, gradually just faded and faded and faded. It's red, you know, like most of them.
Yeah.
And it just was
I've only seen red and black. That's all I've ever seen.
Yeah, I've seen plenty of other colors, but like I will tell you that I think it's like the most prevalent ones must be, you know, red and black, right?
Right.
So you know, it's single stage car with single stage paint. I mean, like, you know, like I did clear and wheel out the car, got the car to shine again, went through some of the active aero stuff, which worked, but like I could tell some of it was binding, took it all apart, re-greased everything, put everything back together. Like, you know, I've done that so much. You know,
Yeah.
wideband sensor wasn't reading right, map sensor wasn't reading right. Like there was just like a lot of these weird things. You know, brakes completely rusted over. You know what I mean? Like you stop.
Kind of stuff that you kind of expect from a car from the
100%.
90s that hasn't really,
Hasn't really
been driven
moved.
that
Yeah.
much.
So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, I put a lot of time into that stuff, and then you know, now I'm at the point where like, you know, there's a couple little the dashboard has these vents, the defrost vents that run by the window. The only way to change them is to take the whole entire dashboard out.
Ooh, fun.
But this was a 90s dashboard, and will require a solid day to do,
Yeah.
but
Right.
those always notoriously cracked. But I
Right.
found a brand new set of them, and so I bought them and I have them. And I'm not going to tell you it's the first thing I want to go run and do, but one day I will, and I have the parts to do it. Right.
Right.
Um, so I just think it's cool. Like I think the idea of being able to save some of these cars is just incredible.
Yeah, I do see some guys too. There's a few guys that I follow on Instagram and friends of friends, but they'll they'll flip a lot of cars, right? But what they do is they look for cars that are already modified but tastefully done. Pick up the car for whatever, good deal. Well, they'll take a few of the parts that they want that are hard to get, maybe like a cluster or something that's impossible to get. To get that, sell off a bunch of the aftermarket stuff, get it as stock as possible, and then sell it and then make more money in the long run. That's becoming pretty common now. It's smart. It's very smart.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, the parts thing, and what's interesting is, before I think like, like you just brought up about like hard to get parts like clusters and maybe
Hmm.
some of the original HKS stuff, like vintage stuff. Like
Yeah. Yep.
again, and there's these are different types of things, right? But I don't want anybody to think like there's the HKS stuff that's probably present that still has all the modern technology, and then there's like the HKS stuff that like clearly didn't have the modern technology, but it has the look of
Right.
being vintage. Like they're not the
Yeah.
same,
Yeah.
but like I get it. Those are becoming they're becoming collector's items all on their own. Those pieces.
For sure. Yeah.
Um, so I think there's something to that. There's a lot of people, but what's interesting to me is that I now see more and more people buying cars for parts cars and
Yep.
inherently dismantling them completely and cataloging every single thing that they take off the car because
Yeah,
the
because you can put it
parts,
on Facebook Marketplace and make a bunch of money back. You can put it on eBay and make a bunch. It makes sense. It's
right?
smart.
And it's
If you've got the space.
right, like because and the thing always is like if you can take a car that's $10,000 and you strip it out and you realize, oh well, I'm going to get $4,500 for the engine, and I'm going to get $2,500 for a transmission, and then like you start breaking all the doors and all the pieces down. And there's a guy in Connecticut. I was just talking to him, and he does all the 3000 GT stuff, and he's constantly buying them. There's tons of them all. That anytime he can get one, he takes it. And sometimes the car is only good for doors, and sometimes the car is only good for core supports or whatever. But this is what happens. You get to a
Yeah.
point where these things, he's like, oh, this one has a great pair of snake eye lights and stuff, And I look, and those snake eye lights, like they're just these I mean, he used not perfect condition. He wants $300 for them. You know what I mean? And you're like, wow, that's a lot of money. But like the truth is, like, where else are you gonna go?
Right. Right. He knows what he has. Right.
He he knows what he
And
has.
it's crazy how much social media plays into that because you can become your own little dealership, right? Out of your garage because you're just moving all these parts out. If you have the room for the vehicles, you can find the deals, stripping yourself, which is not hard to strip them if you're mechanically inclined, but you can really like have a whole business and make, a pretty good living
I
off
know.
of
As long as you
just
don't,
doing that.
as long as you don't get caught by your local town or municipality that says you don't
Yeah,
have a
you couldn't do
dismantles
that here.
license.
Yeah, the neighbors they'd be like, "Excuse me, sir," but like I think some places you can get away with it. Like the Midwest and where we have a lot more space.
Well,
Yeah, yeah.
it's funny. It's like I can't tell you that there's not times I've had projects that I haven't thought about. I've even had a few times I have done this, but like that I haven't thought about buying a parts car. Like all right. So the most prevalent time I could think of is I put together this 1G for my brother, his first gen. It was an Eagle Talon TSI, so an all-wheel drive. And the car at the time when he first got it was just the I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't bad, and I ended up buying a complete parts car that was the same color and same interior and everything. I got it on a deal. It wasn't mechanically wasn't as good, but what I did was I took the shell was straighter. So what we did was we swapped over like hood, fenders, all the trim, the interior from his car, all that stuff went over to the parts car, and then we took all the stuff from the parts car that wasn't good and we put it back into the other car.
Yeah.
And then we moved his engine into this car, but hooked it up to that transmission because it was the front wheel drive to the all wheel drive. So you got a kind of a little upgrade there, and we just combined the best of both worlds, and out of it came just a much nicer car. And then I
Yeah.
still had a car that I was able to turn around and sell as a full running driving car. Um, and it was, it was a really great thing. Now in hindsight, I wish I just kept both of them, but
Right. Yeah.
but it probably was fine to let that front wheel drive car go. That was kind of a useless car to do anything with. Just
Yeah, I think the bottom line, like what we're talking about here, is you really have to determine what you're going to be doing, right? In your case, I don't think you wanted to find a VR4 that was, a basket case shell, and you were going to build it up into this crazy thing. And I think, for some people that would be the way to go. For me, I have an old Integra in the garage that I've worked on over the years. When I bought that car, it was um, somebody else's project they just started, and they had done like just suspension on it, and they did a terrible job. My buddy bought it, didn't have the time to mess with it. He sold it to me. But again, the plan was tear it all the way down and start from scratch. The engine, it was the original engine matching to the chassis. It ran, not great, but it ran. But it's gonna blow it out anyways and completely rebuild it. So it made sense. So you got to think about it beforehand, what your goal is,
yeah, yeah. It's
you know.
crazy. It's one of those things. I think that especially now project cars, like you really have to think about the chess moves first because
Yeah.
they really do all add up in the end. You can end up ahead by buying somebody's car that's got some parts in it, but you can end up in the toilet too. You know?
Or you run into that stupid wiring issue that you spend, the next 4 months trying to figure out. You know what I mean?
Well,
It could be
all
one of those dumb things.
yeah, all while every time you work on it, you think about this is exactly why this stupid guy got rid of this car. I knew it.
Right.
This was too
Right.
good to be
Right.
true.
You figure it out, right? The
Yeah.
hard way.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
So
yeah.
I don't know. That's interesting. What for people out there, if you're listening, let us know. Do you think it's a better value to buy a car that's kind of already been built, but may come with some risk and may come with some, major setbacks? Or do you think it's better to just go ahead and try to say, nope, I'm going to build this thing entirely myself? Is there an in between ground? Do you ever have a situation where you say, no, in certain situations, like the one in mine, for example, I wouldn't have bought this car. I probably wouldn't have bought this car, even identically owned without being able to prove it. I probably wouldn't have bought this car from almost anybody else. Right.
Right.
So
Right.
so I think that it really does matter. Interesting to hear what people might have to say about this stuff because I think this is kind of a time, and one of those long-lived debates that's kind of always existed.
For sure. Also, I'd like to hear if anybody has some horror stories. I want to read about that
Oh
because I
my
know there's some
god.
people that have bought some absolute buckets that they didn't know at the time.
Yeah.
But you start peeling back the layers, and then you're like, here we go.
I feel like
Nightmare.
the ones that have made the biggest splashes lately have all been the imported JDM cars that they get that they've just been all like, made to look good, and really they get them and they're these big
That's
rust buckets.
that's what we started with the NSX. We were
Yeah.
just talking about that. Like that's
Yeah.
what it looked decent from the outside, but man, whew, it was bad. So
I know.
yeah, let us know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
crazy. All right, well that's it for this one. We'll catch you again on the next one.
Yeah.